Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Alpert. I'm a member of the Southern California Teaching Committee and the chair for this year's SCPGA Youth Teaching and Coaching Summit Virtual Series. Welcome to our final webinar topic, Disruption Creates Opportunity. We're going to dive into the importance of authenticity and why relevant and consistent communication with our various customers is so important. It would certainly appear that golf is positioned extremely well to thrive in this new environment. We simply must act as leaders in this new space and share a positive message. A little business before we get cranking. You guys all have a question bar somewhere on your fields. It's either at the bottom or on the sides, I believe. I'm clicking into mine right now. If you have any questions as we go through today, feel free to jot them in the bar there. We'll attempt to answer them if we can as we go through. Otherwise, we'll save them till the end and we'll answer all your questions at the end. As we have every segment so far, we will do a trivia segment. I have two very interesting trivia questions, and today's prize is a tour golf towel and a sleeve of Pro V1s, both of which are from my junior golf academy, Good Swings Happen. I've done some statistics on the playing of a Pro V1 with our academy logo on it, and it turns out that you will shoot 1.3 shots better if you use a Pro V1 and 1.975 shots better if our Academy logo is on the ball. Jason and Jean-Louis will help me a little later with a presentation on that. Our first guest on that note, Mr. Jason Haffley is the co-founder and managing partner of OneNinth Media, an innovative ad agency and content production company based here in the South Bay. In addition to producing hundreds of video projects ranging from broadcast commercials to short films, Jason has also acted as creative director and strategist on numerous marketing and awareness campaigns for tech startups, emerging brands, philanthropic organizations, and political candidates. Our next guest, Jean-Louis Rawlence, is the co-founder of Concept Bureau, a brand strategy agency focused on building brands that move our culture forward. His focus is on strategic storytelling and developing consumer research methodologies. Previously, he helped run Google's Startup Accelerator program in the UK and run a prominent design agency. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you.
Hey, Mr. Josh, good morning. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you to the SCPGA for having us on. It's great to join you guys and wonderful to be also with Jean-Louis, who I've had the pleasure of collaborating in the past with as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So absolutely, yeah. we're gonna dive right in. Go ahead, sorry, Jay.
Sorry, stepping on your toes, my friend. Yeah, just just wanted to say thanks again. Also, OneNinth, I don't know if we mentioned this before. As a creative agency, we've assisted many entities over the years, but really our ideal clients are those projects of substance that are helping people live better lives or in some way protecting the planet and have like a pay it forward component baked into the business model. And so just again, happy to be here and really appreciate Good Swings Happen and some of the collaborations we've had with you guys and all you guys do for the youth through the game of golf is fantastic.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate, obviously all the help that you've given me, which you know more about than most will. If we could jump to slide 2, Bryce. Jean-Louis, I want to jump in and ask you a question here. I'm looking at the, let's see here if the presentation is, there we go. Can you just give us a little inkling into why telling your story matters so much?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of components to this. There's a story we always lead with when we're working with clients about how people are emotional first. There's a great story of a guy who got a brain tumor and he had it removed, and so there was some damage to his frontal lobe and he wasn't able to experience emotion properly. And surprisingly, he was pretty much unable to make decisions because of that, because his emotions were affected. And it's a great example of how we think we're very logical people, but we're really, really not. You see so many times in different behavior categories of people buying things way out of their means. I mean, the entire luxury industry exists because people are emotional first, logical second. And so, when you're telling your story, it's really easy to think about your customers, your clients as being very logical people. If you just give them a reasonable proposition, they'll work with you, right? But that's not how it is. And so you really do need to understand how to connect with people, how to elicit an emotional response with your story. That's really why it matters, because if you do that, then the logical piece is how they qualify that, right? You have great reviews, you have a great website, online presence. It's like, okay, I can trust this person. But that's not how they make their decision. That's how they qualify it. And so really, like, having that emotional connection is absolutely critical to building a connection, building an audience, and having a business. And so that's one of the key reasons why you can't just lead with a proposition. You can't lead with a product. You have to have a story to kind of wrap everything you do into that. And actually, there's another good example. I don't know if people are familiar with Clay Christensen's Job to Be Done. He did this great research in researching a milkshake. And he was trying to understand, like, why do people buy these milkshakes and how do they improve them? So he literally sat inside a coffee shop one morning and watched as people came in and bought things. And he realized that the competition of the milkshake wasn't other flavors, it wasn't coffee. People were bored and they wanted something to do on their commute to work. So the competition was a banana, it was a bagel, a donut. It was something that would keep them satiated, keep them with something to do on the commute to work. And so when he understood that, suddenly the function of the milkshake changed. Now you make it thicker so it lasts longer. You change the way you talk about it. You change the competition. And I think it's something that, it's helpful to understand. It's really easy to think industry as the only thing that exists, but there's so many things vying for our attention, especially now. And so the point is that, like, how do you get someone's attention? How do you qualify them spending time with you over 1,000 other things that are competing? Believe it or not, Netflix is probably a competitor to golf in a lot of ways. And so, like, how do you address that? Again, it's about framing, it's about setting up the right context, but it's really kind of getting people to focus on what you want them to focus on by framing it in the right sense. And the last piece is that, we've worked with hundreds of brands, and something that we always find, we do all these user interviews, we do a lot of in-depth research, and we find that most of the time, people are not given a chance to reflect on and realize the value of something they've been doing. And I guarantee this is true for golf. If you're working with an instructor or you're just enjoying the sport, there are a lot of transformations that are going to happen in your lives. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of experiences that are going to be very instrumental. But unless you have a chance to sit down and actually reflect on, wow, I never realized that over the last year, I've changed so much in this capacity. No one realizes this almost in any category. And it's the job of a good brand and a good story to make people realize that. So these are just some devices that can be really powerful at actually kind of communicating a story that doesn't just kind of resonate with people, but also strategically accomplishes the goal of getting their attention, getting that, making them realize the value of something and actually captivating them emotionally. And so kind of to build on that, how do you make your story relevant? One of the key things is that, like, you need to tap into deeper needs. So we've been having a lot of conversations recently, and something really fascinating has come up. There's this big trend right now of bread making and gardening. And we were trying to understand sort of, why is this happening? Why are people going to these things? And we found that there's this framework called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And it's a pyramid which basically says, unless you can guarantee survival, you can't guarantee safety. If you can guarantee safety, you can guarantee belonging. If you can guarantee belonging, you can focus on esteem. And if you can do esteem, then you can focus on self-actualization, which is sort of improving yourself. A lot of brands, a lot of people focus on esteem right now. It's really kind of the cachet, buying something luxury, a nice car, it's how people perceive you. But right now with COVID-19, people are really worried about their safety. We can't guarantee our safety. So we've kind of dropped down from esteem to safety. And so if you look at bread making, you look at gardening, these are acts that show that you have a certain amount of self-reliance, that you are in control of your situation. And so you can see that a lot of the trends that are happening right now are about people looking for safety and comfort and self-reliance. And so we've kind of dropped to that tier in terms of Maslow's hierarchy. And I think the reason that's important in the story that you might tell is that you need to understand what people are looking for, what needs they want fulfilled by your offering. So when you're talking about golf, how do you make it relevant? How do you make someone care? They're not going to care about what everyone else thinks of them when they can't guarantee a feeling of safety in the world. And so maybe that means that the story needs to change a little bit. Maybe it's about self-reliance. It's about the dedication, resilience, self-improvement, those kind of philosophies. That might be a stronger angle right now, but the bottom line is that you need to understand, like, what are they actually looking for? What are the needs they want to fulfill? And again, the same is true if you want your kids to learn golf and you're thinking about that. We've seen over the last few decades a huge shift from thinking about sports in terms of teams to focusing on the individual instead. We've really focused down to individual attainment and achievement. The news isn't about what the team did, it's about what the player did. And so we think about that. That's why we've seen a lot of shift to STEM activities as opposed to team sports, because parents are much more focused on their kids' individual attainment. And so again, as a parent, how do you tap into those needs? How do you reflect not kind of a group setting, but like as their child as an individual, like how are they changing? How are they evolving? What are their needs? So that's a really powerful thing. The other thing as well is that golf and any activity that you do that taps into identity is a vehicle for expression. You have a lifestyle, you have a relationship with your friends, with your coach, with all sorts of people. It's the experience that you go through. Like all of these things are ways that you express who you are. And if you can understand that, then you can start tapping into that. And so, a good example of this is, let's say that you really, as an instructor, you believe in perseverance as kind of the absolute key trait. The key part of this expression is something that you, by playing golf, you are trying to express to other people, that I am a perseverant person. This is a quality of mine. What you may find in terms of making that story relevant is suddenly, if you're talking about perseverance, you have all sorts of people who inspire you, all sorts of stories, books, journeys, other athletes, people climbing mountains, this world of content that speaks to perseverance. And that's something that you can tap into and make part of your story. It suddenly becomes relevant to you, and it's not just kind of who you're inspired by, it's who you may partner with, it's those kind of stories. And so, we've talked about kind of what the story should be and what you can accomplish, but like how to make it relevant. When you have these themes, suddenly you can tap into a much broader conversation. And so, it's not about golf anymore. It's about who you are as an individual, and it's about your identity. And that can be a much more powerful thing because everyone are looking for ways to express themselves. That's why, going back to the bread example, we post online that we're making bread. We want people to understand those stories about ourselves. And so if you can understand those, you can speak to it. And the last piece is really, again, just that you want people to realize the transformation. I think especially when you're dealing with kids, it's really important that you show a very clear before and after. It should be crystal clear exactly at the beginning versus the end of this journey, how you've changed. Again, that's the benefit that people are going for. And it might not be what you think. It's if you're competing with time and money, it can be easy to just focus on those things. But when you can focus on the transformation of character, of your social life, even, the lifestyle that you have and what you want to signal, like those are all very, very powerful things. And again, that taps into what people are already thinking about. You're tapping into where they're already putting their attention and time, as opposed to kind of just having something else to worry about. So hopefully that's, I know I've been talking a lot, but hopefully that gives you a good idea of sort of telling a story can be a very, very powerful thing. And often, like, you really have to go beyond the features of what you're offering. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, Jean-Louis, I think you brought up a couple really important points there. One of those being the transformation. And I know from tuning into some of these other episodes in this webinar series is that there's been some fantastic conversations here about how golf really can transform beyond the play and beyond the score, is like all of the ancillary benefits of building character and raising good humans and teaching self-reliance. Brandon from Liquid IV on a recent episode was just talking about how the self-discipline that he really gained on the golf course and going through junior instruction had empowered him to later in life and in business be very effective, and he falls back on this frequently. So that transformation is, I think, big. And like you said, sometimes the value of these things are unrealized. I think, even talking to Josh as an instructor, we're advising him on a couple different levels. There's things as the academy, Good Swings Happen, he can be doing. But the individual that's Josh also has a lot of different layers of like thought leadership and other things in his kind of repertoire of skills and personality traits that are actually of tremendous value. And so I'm certain, not to get too much in the weeds yet in specifics about the difference between different social media platforms, but for instance, the story we will tell about Good Swings Happen on Facebook, et cetera, might be very different than the story we tell about Josh Alpert on something like LinkedIn, right? But the relationships there. The other thing that I think you mentioned that is so vital in the here and now is this changing of priorities and needs for the individuals. And so, on so many of these Zoom calls, and, we're hearing the same things from everybody, especially the folks that have kids at home. They're somehow juggling, work and their Zoom meetings, but getting their third grader on for their webinar or go-to meeting with their school class and all of this. There are new needs in the here and now that I think if we pay attention to it, again, it's going to provide some opportunity, create some opportunity for these professional golf instructors to promote their businesses. Yeah, and like you said, it's also hard to get people's attention, and I think that brings us to this slide a little bit as far as why people should be listening, or how can you get somebody's attention. And I think we all know that a lot of that's about creating value. And for me personally, if I think about just my own habits observationally, like with content that comes through to me on social media, I see a lot. I pass on very little. And typically if I'm going to share and pass something on to my friends, my colleagues, my family members, whoever's connected to me on social, it has to have some value. And sometimes that's something that's like a huge piece of information that might change the way you think about life. And sometimes it's a silly cat video that just makes you laugh. There's value in both of those things. And I think that's all we're kind of speaking to, here on this slide, is that, I think for a lot of the golf instructors here, there's basically three main buckets of kind of content that they can be creating. And certainly there's overlap. It's like that Venn diagram where, a single piece of content could actually check off a few of these boxes. But update for us is just referring to that informative kind of information. You might be telling somebody, when you're going to reopen, or when the next, summer camp session is, or when they have to register by. That's important information if somebody actually wants to book a lesson with you, things like this. Could also be high level about the industry in general, things that you're hearing, because a lot of your audience isn't going to be as in tune and in the loop as you guys are as professionals. So passing on that kind of content can be really valuable. Education, that's easy, man. You guys are full of tips and tricks and the how-tos. You can provide some substantive stuff here. You're not giving anything away by giving something away. If you're creating a little value by giving some of your best grip technique tips or something like that on social, it's all great. And then entertaining is just that. I think that, I've seen a lot of folks, again, here at the local course, some of the instructors there with Good Swings Happen. I think people are drawn to this profession because they're people, right? They're social. And certainly youth instruction, I think there's a layer too about trying to help kids fall in love with the game and become great athletes and phenomenal humans. But yeah, I think it's okay to let your personality shine through and have a little fun along the way. All of these things are ways that we in person are going to engage with others and build relationships and bonds. And we're just really encouraging everybody to do that in their online communications as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I know we were kind of rolling. Any thoughts? Or I know Josh or John Louis, if you have anything to add or want to interrupt me at any point, please jump in.
Well, I'll just jump in on that last point. About being yourself, you need to set an expectation. Like, a huge part of the value proposition you're providing is the relationship you have with people. People are social creatures, and as time goes on, we find that more and more human contact and human support is becoming a luxury good. We're finding that category is really, fitting into the luxury space. And so the point is that all of your communication can and should set an expectation for what that relationship with you is like. Even if you're just sending an update or entertaining people with content, you should be giving people an idea of who you are, what it would be like to have a professional relationship with you. That's a very powerful thing. It's an opportunity that you absolutely shouldn't miss.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely struck, obviously in this time that we're in here. And just even from a communication at the top level, our games leadership from the top PGA levels and down through the section levels has been very, very organized in helping us as professionals understand where the climate is, what are the things that we can do safely, what are the timetables, what should we expect. It's been really cool to see how the leadership from the top has really made an effort to help us at our level understand what to do, what not to do. And in light, obviously, our opportunities as general managers, golf professionals, depending on what level that we're at, we are, to your point, and I'm experienced in this on a day-to-day basis, texts and emails. When are we opening? What can we do? What can we not do? We, in a lot of ways, are the voice of creating calm, creating comfort, obviously outlining, to your point, John Louis, safety guidelines and restrictions and letting people know it is okay to come back to the game of golf. Ironically, one of probably the first recreational activity to come back. And I know, Jason, we were talking offline about I think it was in the New York Times, maybe an article about a golf course filling 172 tee times in the first 2 minutes the registration was open. 2 seconds.
2 seconds, actually. Yeah, it's amazing. I believe that was in Minnesota. But yeah, that was a phenomenal article in the New York Times. It was something I think it was back on like May 7th, and the title of it was something like people taking up the long walk in this new game, and just how well positioned golf really is, and how people are flocking to it. Either folks that maybe were enthusiasts prior, or maybe they had touched the game long ago, but people are coming back in droves, and it's a really attractive space because it's outdoors. It's you can burn a few hours, but you can also still socialize in a very safe way while playing with others. And I know I think elsewhere in that article it mentioned like a lot of family units that they're seeing, of course, because we're unable to play maybe with like the person that lives down the street or our buddy across town, but it's safe for us to go out and do things together with those we cohabitate with. So yeah, I mean, I was planning on sharing more about that later, and I'm sure we'll circle back, but we're really excited for all of you and the game of golf in general, because with any of just like the kind of the theme of this conversation is disruption and creating opportunity. The shift in the landscape and everything right now is going to hurt some more than others, and it's going to help some more than others. And I think it's going to help golf quite a bit. So
I'm going to interrupt the show for a 30-second commercial break.
Okay.
If that's okay.
We have a trivia segment. Yeah.
Yeah, we give away things, but we have to ask the question before we can get the answer. So, okay, here we go, folks. Trivia question number 1: tour towel, golf balls, logoed 1.7 strokes off of your game if you play this golf ball. This first trivia question is in the spirit of the Last Dance episode 7 this past weekend about the Chicago Bulls. What minor league baseball team did Phil Mickelson once try out for? Yeah, I did my homework on the trivia game here. What minor league baseball team did Phil Mickelson once try out for? First answer correct in the queue will win a tour towel on a sleeve of golf balls. Stumped them all. Jean-Louis, if you want to take a crack at that, feel free.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what is that.
Yeah, clueless here.
We have the organization actually is correct. Heidi Richardson, the Detroit Tigers is the organization, but what is the name of the team that he actually tried out for? It's a minor league baseball team, not a major league baseball team. Lloyd McWilliams, Toledo Mud Hens, congratulations. You are the champion of trivia question 1. I will connect with you offline to make sure you get your tour towel and golf balls with Supreme logo abilities on them. Congratulations.
I actually lived in Ohio for a while, and I have to admit I've never heard of the Toledo Mud Hens.
Yes. Very few have, as it turns out. This next
Good
slide,
job,
congratulations, Lloyd. I think you know too much about sports. No more excuses. Never a better time. Here we are, right? Stuck a month and a half without the ability to work, and you know, we're learning so much from hopefully this webinar and webinars like it, and content and connectivity. I've watched so many YouTube videos of my fellow instructors teaching in their backyard and showing best tips. I have pages of notes on tips that I plan to use from folks that I've learned from. And there's a lot of people out there that probably would like to be able to do these things, aren't quite comfortable with what to do, how to do it. Can you speak to just getting out there and doing something?
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that there's a lot of folks that, as you know, if they're not familiar with the art and science of communicating online, it can be a little intimidating. You know, most of us now are on social media personally, but when it becomes a professional, situation, I think it causes a little bit of anxiety. You know, people are like not sure what to say or how to say it, and rightly so. You know, we see it online all the time. People are highly judgmental. Things are highly politicized. And so you don't want to say the wrong thing in the wrong way and all of this. But there are a few things about the current environment that I think really do make this kind of a better time than ever. If you're not already in motion here, or you're trying to kick it up a notch, now is certainly the time. The comment about analysis paralysis is something that we run into all the time, because folks just are so worried about getting it perfect that they don't just get in motion. And right now, we're saying get in motion, because there are captive audiences. There are more people spending time online than ever before. They're looking for stuff to do. They're even breaking their routines. Like previously, they might have spent X amount of time online, but it was in this area that they habitually spent time in, and now they're starting to wander and look for other information and other experiences. But the good news is like there's also some forgiveness right now. You know, there's certainly forgiveness when it comes to things like production quality. You know, everything doesn't have to look perfect. The Tonight Show is broadcasting from, Jimmy's garage, and the kids are walking through the shots and all of this, which is, a beautiful thing to me. But there's another thing, perfect example, John Krasinski with Some Good News. I think Josh, you had sent me a little link to that a few weeks ago. So good. And this ties in a couple of things though. One, people are forgiving about production quality. Two, you can really see what happens when somebody is very authentically themselves, and they're coming from a place of just wanting to be helpful. You know, looking out at the world and seeing all this nasty news and things that bring us down. He's like, yo, I don't want this personally. And I believe there's other people out there that want this too. And I'm just going to come from the heart and let it roll, and let's see what happens. And we've all seen it. It's been a phenomenon. It's been so wonderfully received. Green light, go.
Just to add to that as well, we've seen it like with huge brands and influencers too. Like now is an incredible time to experiment with content. Like you'll be forgiven for just about anything. Like you can really try new formats, new ways of relating to people. Like everyone gets it. Like now's the time to make things different, So like you've never had more permission, and you might not ever again, like to jump onto it. And the other thing we've seen as well is that there's a lot of reports coming out that right now is a really interesting window where so many people are switching brands. They're switching allegiances. They're trying new behaviors. I think something like 70% of people were trying new brands, and like 80% of them are likely to stick with some new ones. And so like this is a huge shift in how we've behaved. And so like, again, it's not just a great time to make content and get the word out there. It's a great time to like grab people's attention and start building a new relationship. People who may not have considered it before, but really want to get outside, and it's one of the only sports available to them. This is an incredible opportunity.
No, absolutely. And I think, to your point, even Jason, a second ago, if John Krasinski if he had a golf course after watching one of his things, I'm going to it. If he is teaching a golf class, I am taking that class because he is so authentic and he is so caring and he is so wanting to do good, and it emits from his being that it didn't even matter what he was talking about. Anything else that he brought to my attention, I was going to be interested in, just simply because I was interested in him. And I think that, in some parallel universe, the game of golf, ironically, and I'll throw opinion out there, it was always sort of this certain class of people could play the game of golf, and that's it, and that's just it, and it's not for everybody kind of a thing. The reality is golf is more for everybody than and that it has ever been. Our whole academy is trying to find ways, even just in the last 10 years of, we started with a summer camp, and it was one day because we weren't sure how many kids, and then it became 3 days, and then 5 days, and then sold out, and then there's high school team training, and then boys and girls high school team, and group classes, and everything that we do expands. And well, then maybe we can get the parents and the kids involved, and maybe we could do a league for the better players and tournaments and everything that we offer, so long as we have that relationship with the customer. They want to experience those things with us. Our job is to be good at what we do and not be afraid to expand what we do, because we just might get the grandma and the grandpa and the kid, and and as soon as we're able to actually get back to being social together, the neighbor and the neighbor's friend, and we could really build a community of people who experience just being together at golf courses. And if that's how we're thinking about our golf courses, then the market share goes up dramatically. And by the way, we are offering it safely. We are taking the steps and the measures. And again, we're making it comfortable for people to trust that we are a place that you can come to. Let's do that, folks who are out there. Please, side message, make sure that the tape is on the ground 6 feet away, have the proper signage out, make sure that we have our PPEs out there. Let's make sure we don't mess around. Let's get this right. And then let's extend on what it is that we're getting right. That's all I got.
Absolutely. No, spot on. Hey, question for you, Josh. I saw a question come in from Lloyd, the winner of the trivia earlier, but he has a really specific question about teaching junior golfers, mostly 12 to 17-year-olds, and which platform should I put my message on? Should I use more than one? If I could touch on that just for a second, because we definitely want to make sure we're giving people really actionable, useful stuff as well. And I know we've spent a bit of time on the high level here, but coming to the nuts and bolts, Lloyd, great question. And my answer would be is that, we would typically recommend being on multiple platforms for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is that, yes, you definitely want to connect and build bonds with these 12 to 17-year-olds, but obviously you need to be connecting and building bonds with the parents as well. And so how you do that is going to vary a little bit. And again, mixing up some of the content to make sure you're appealing to both, and then communicating with them on the platforms that they're going to be spending most of their time is ideal. The short answer, the long answer is there's a lot of information, and just I hope this helps everybody that's listening as well. At the end of this, we actually, there will be a link. We've compiled a bunch of just basic kind of 101 information that could really help folks get started if they just want to learn a little bit more. And that link will be provided. So there's a ton of information in there. Use it as you use it and abuse it. It's all there for you. But 12 to 17-year-olds, they're going to be spending more time on Instagram. I hope you have an Instagram for your business, but don't ignore the power of Facebook. Facebook for you guys is going to be extraordinarily powerful, because that's where the parents are spending most of their time. And they're on Instagram too, don't get me wrong, but Facebook, I think, allows a different kind of engagement and allows you to provide maybe a little more substantive content and a whole lot of other feature things there, as far as targeting and your geography or people with similar interests, et cetera, et cetera. So great question.
Jay, would it be a good idea for me as a professional to admit that I have a TikTok account and I challenge my 15-year-old daughter to TikTok battles, or is that probably a really bad call for me to, do in a public forum like this?
Wow, I am so glad you admitted that, and I didn't have to call you out on it. No, but actually, I don't personally have a TikTok account. If I was teaching youth golf, I would absolutely 100% have a TikTok account right now. It's where the kids are, short and sweet, get to the point, have some fun. Also, creating some substantive stuff, tips, tricks, exercises. Going back to something that John Lewis said earlier too, talking about the needs, again, that parent that is overworked, trying to figure out how to work remotely, take care of the kids. Now they also have to be the teacher for the kids and still figure out how to get them outside a little bit because they're cooped up inside and you don't want them playing video games all day. Like, there's so many things about the situation that that if you could create a short video giving a child an exercise that they can do that's fun, but teaches them maybe it connects mind, body, and some kind of exercise, and they're going to go out and practice that for a half hour, an hour, and you just bought that parent that much freedom to focus on other things. That's a big value, right now, like, carving out some time alone for a parent could be huge. Same time, you were talking about playing golf together and kind of the family component of this. People are doing stuff together because they have to, which is great. But if you can create videos that actually show things that parents and kids could do together, that's both advantageous and helpful physically, but also is a cool bonding moment, a way to spend some quality time, also of tremendous value right now. But yeah, I might have to sign on to TikTok just so I can follow you and see what you're doing there.
I'll battle you. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Hey Jay, a question just came through. First of all, thanks for the great information. Do you recommend registering and paying for the additional services and posts that Facebook usually promotes and offers to you, even if you've made regular no payment required posts on your page?
Short answer to that is yes. I don't think you have to spend a lot of money. I think spending some money, though, even $10 here and there to promote posts is essentially vital now. We've all heard about the algorithms and stuff that make the decisions about who sees what. So you might be connected to a lot of folks, you post things, and because there's so much content out there, right, Facebook has to filter that down. And so oftentimes what we're creating and we think we're sharing with our audience is not getting to that audience. But throwing $5, $10 behind a post that you think is important, you want to make sure is seen, do it. Absolutely do it.
Great question, Heidi. Along those lines, and obviously the backdrop of this it's a youth summit program. This whole virtual series was something we created to take place of a youth summit that did not happen in March at the Tiger Woods Learning Lab, actually, in Anaheim. And oh man, just absolutely just had a complete piece of, I don't know what I was talking about, go right through the side of my head. Oh yeah, here we go. Youth, from an instructor standpoint, independent contractor, someone who has a golf academy, somebody who is a golf instructor as their primary focus and sort of is promoting themselves as a professional. If what should we be doing? If you have kids especially, but also other customers, and you're reaching out, database, Facebook, Instagram. Is there an order of operations or most important that we should or should not be doing in that regard?
What I would say is, again, I think 90% of the time we're going to encourage people to be on multiple channels. And like you brought up a database and kind of email communication, which I think is a fundamental of staying in contact with customers and provide some cool opportunity there. I think, though, it's also a function of like what's ideal and then what's realistic. I think it depends on the instructor and it depends on your business and other things that you have going on in your life a little bit. Like if you're able to manage multiple accounts and communicate with people in multiple ways, do that. I think that, the reality is that many people don't have the capacity, bandwidth, or appetite really to to do that well. And there's tools. I mean, there's tools like Hootsuite and things that allow you to, through one platform, create and schedule posts across all the different social platforms and things like this. But, even there, I don't know, I guess the short answer is, if you can, some of the fundamentals, I think, in this space, and it's why we've identified some of the ones that we actually see on this slide. Instagram, great place to be for you guys. Facebook, fantastic place to be for you guys. There are Constant Contact and a lot of other email / CRMs, like customer relationship management softwares that are available. MailChimp's an easy one, easy to use, easy to pick up. I think the other beauty of it, it's affordable. You can do quite a lot with the free account options on MailChimp. And we've included YouTube here as well because, the beauty of creating like one of those short videos that we talked about before, that video could be uploaded to YouTube. It could be uploaded to Instagram. It could be uploaded to Facebook. As a matter of fact, when we post stuff on our OneNinth account, we do it straight to Instagram and then auto share it over to Facebook. So we're not even doing separate posts there. But for you guys, it's like with all of the people looking for information on bread making or basket weaving or whatever it is right now, YouTube is like one of the biggest search engines on the planet. So yeah, with the instructional, substantive material and content that you guys can create, the how-tos, the performance-based stuff, the techniques, the tips and tricks, all of that can provide you an opportunity for people to find you if you're posting that stuff on a platform like YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess that would be my answer. The icons that you see here on the screen, like if I was going to say, here's your starter pack, I would probably point to this for the vast majority of the instructors and the types of businesses I think you guys are running,
And just to add to that as well, it's not just getting eyeballs. It's, again, these become powerful tools to qualify, right? So if someone finds you somehow, maybe you even talk to them in person and that's how they discover you, they will check these accounts to see, is this someone who I can have a good experience with? Am I going to get the benefits I'm looking for? Is this the right kind of relationship, the right kind of person? These become qualifiers, these become the logical side of an emotional purchase as well. So let's not forget that use case, because that's very powerful. This is a record of who you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would you guys, from the golf course standpoint, just in some, thinking it from a different lens, if you're a golf course and you're obviously communicating with your current customer as well as reaching out, now that we've talked about this, if there's a golf course in a community and it has community members around it that might not otherwise be knowingly connected to the golf course, what are some things that facilities can do to help reach the customer that is already attached to the game of golf, but also the customer that is not attached to the game of golf?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of layers of this, it depends on the golf course. Like one of the functions that you could serve as is to especially now if we're all feeling a bit disconnected, act as a hub. Maybe members, people involved can submit content, and that can be, you can serve as a powerful tool in a lot of different ways. And those venues have a great way. They have a community around them already, so they should be tapping into that and kind of reminding people that that's one of the huge benefits of these places is that you have all these people that have a common interest and they have something in common and want to be connected to one another. They should find a way to do that online if they can. That's very powerful.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah. Let me jump in. I'm going to do trivia question number 2. This is our final commercial break. Folks, if you have questions for Jean-Louis and Jason, feel free to type them into the bar. We will be answering, doing our best to answer anything we can that's related to the subject matter. Don't ask them how to hold a golf club. I can definitely say that that's a bad idea, but you guys already know how to do that. Okay, here we go. Trivia question number 2. Name the PGA Tour top 3 all-time money leaders. Name the PGA Tour top 3 all-time money leaders, and I'm sure you're all going to get number 1 right. One, two, three, all time. We have a winner. Wow, that was early. Heidi, Tiger, Phil, and Jim Furyk. Congratulations, in that order. 120 million in his career. That's not bad, apparently. So maybe I should have been a professional golfer. Yeah, that's pretty good. That was fast.
That was
bad. Yeah, Jason, are you now thinking of being a PGA Tour player, or are you going to just
yeah.
a little late?
All of a sudden, I'm feeling like I need to practice my swing here. Yeah, I don't think it would ever happen. Even with your instruction, Josh, I doubt I'm getting anywhere close to that, my friend.
Yeah, I know.